Hello and welcome once again to Stone Soup.
The world according to Sci-Fi Geeks. And today we're going to be joined by my son Sean because we're going to be talking about Planet of the Apes, and he is an expert.
He is our resident expert.
In the way that some of us geeks get to be experts. I used to be. I was a huge Planet of the Apes fan from way before these guys were born, from way before I met their dad. In the beginning, there was a book. It was called Planet of the Apes. It was by Pierre... I think that Boulez. It's a very short book, lovely little book,
right.
And it has a twist ending, and you should get that book and read it because it's not the movies, any of them. But somebody said, "What an interesting concept!" And so they decided to make a movie. And in the way that Hollywood always does, they wrote something completely different, but it was still about a planet of apes, and it starred Charlton Heston and Roddy McDowall and Kim Hunter.
And Maurice Evans.
And Maurice Evans. Roddy, Kim, and Maurice were playing apes. Charlton Heston was playing a man. And that's pretty good because he was playing a man without very many clothes on. And Charlton Heston should always have done things without very many clothes on because he was hot.
Young.
Yeah, well, nowadays he doesn't have anything on because he's dead and he's a skeleton. But anyway.
Minor detail.
Minor detail. It was a very, very good movie, and it spawned a few sequels.
It's upside down.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 total movies. Oh, yes, it goes this way. This way.
Actually, the sixth disc is a behind-the-scenes documentary
Okay,
on
yes,
how they made
okay. It spawned 4 sequels and
Sorry.
a 6 disc full of behind-the-scenes stuff, because when you got that many movies, you got a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff.
Yes.
They
And
were-
the sequels varied in quality.
Yeah, but the story was always interesting, I thought. Now, when I was in my 20s, I actually sat down with a bunch of 3x5 cards and rewrote the ending of Escape from the Planet of the Apes because they didn't do it right. So I had to fix it for them.
Fans do that, you know.
Fans do that. That is a thing that fans do.
I did it to Dragon Ball Z.
Okay. Oops. Please don't make a mess.
You're so talented.
Basically, they had bunches of really good stuff in the movie. They just screwed up their ending because they didn't realize what they should have done. And I don't know why, because I did, and I was only 25. Okay, 26. But anyway, so
Now,
last year,
well, before that,
Okay,
Rafe
go ahead.
mentioned that. Do you remember what year it was, Sean?
Beginning of the aughts, I think, yes.
Right. But Tim Burton did his own remake
that's
of
right.
Planet of the Apes. You will notice we do not have a copy of that for good reason.
Well, it had a decent story,
Decent
but
dish.
there were issues. For one thing, the makeup artist needed to be dragged into the street and severely maimed for putting eyebrows on the female apes.
because they weren't feminine enough.
And
They're freaking apes.
They really shouldn't have given it to Tim Burton because, as one knows, he has a bit of an addiction to putting things in the dark. And this needed to be more in the light.
In the light. It really does. It needs to have a big, bright sun shining down on this planet so you can see that these people are not us.
Yes.
They're
The
not
point
so.
for
We are-
what was it,
they aren't
Michael
descended
Richardson?
from the apes. They are the apes.
Michael Clark
Yes.
Duncan.
Michael
Yeah.
Clark Duncan as a gorilla. Good casting there.
Oh, yes. I mean,
The man is huge. I love him, but he's huge.
And,
well, he's actually too tall because gorillas are not tall. They're very, very broad. They're about our height. They're about 5'5", but they got shoulders like this. They are scary sons of guns to look
and
at.
Tim Roth as the crazy evil chimpanzee.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
Tim Roth. I don't care what he's doing. He frequently plays crazy evil, though. Remember the Hulk? He was the crazy
Yeah.
evil military guy who never
Turned
mind.
into the abomination.
Yeah.
Yes.
But anyway, so then last year, somebody decided to reboot it.
Yet again.
And along came the rise of the Planet of the Apes. And they had something that these folks didn't have. 2 somethings. One was, what's it called? The
CGI?
Well, CGI, the thing where they put the
A motion capture.
motion capture. And the other thing they had was Andy Serkis.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And that ape looked real. And you believed it. And when he stood up and glared at whoever it was and said, "No," your insides,
it.
your insides went, "Oh my God, we're in big trouble now." Fortunately, there weren't quite enough of them to take over the whole planet. Unfortunately, the human beings weren't smart enough to gas them all.
Yeah. What can you do?
What you gonna do? Of course, then there wouldn't have been a sequel, and you know there's got to be a sequel,
Oh, yeah.
and a sequel to the sequel, and a sequel
Et
to that,
cetera,
ad nauseum.
But anyway, the story takes place just a little bit into the future. And basically, some scientists are trying to find a cure for Alzheimer's.
That was something else they
Always
didn't really know back
worthwhile.
in the 60s. I don't think Alzheimer's had been identified, at least not to the point where the public knew about it
Yeah.
and knew its name.
Laudable goal, and they're testing on apes
apes.
because apes are genetically very, very close to humans.
And they figure if we can actually, what in David Brin's books would be called uplift an ape, if we can use this serum to take a normally intelligent ape and make him actually human-level intelligence, then it's working. It's altering the brain, and it's boosting and or preserving the intellect.
Yep.
And that would be a good thing. And the guy who's working on it, who's played by James Franco, his dad has Alzheimer's. So he's very driven.
Yes.
And his dad was performed by.
John Lithgow.
Thank you.
Yes.
Also a brilliant actor in
Oh,
pretty much
yes.
everything he does.
Yeah. Yeah, he just shines. Everybody in here is shown.
Oh, yes.
And for those of you who are sci-fi geeks, the guy who played Rodney McKay, David Hewlett,
Yeah.
he's in here too. I'll
Not
let
a
you.
big role, but he's there.
I'll let you find him. He is. It's not big, but it's very, very pivotal.
Yes. Tom Felton, who was Draco Malfoy
Malfoy.
in the Harry Potter
Potter
movies,
movies.
he's in here.
Here.
Also not a very big role, but it's nice to see him doing something else, although he's still doing a jerk, poor guy. He needs a role where he's actually a good guy, just to do something different.
But you know what? He was really good.
Yes.
And he wasn't quite as over the top as Malfoy. He was just working with apes and viewed them as apes, as animals, stupid animals.
Yep.
Which you'd think if you work with apes for very long, you'd know they aren't that stupid.
Yeah.
But be that as it may, he was, trying to impress girls and stuff, as young men will. But this is a superb movie. It has a really good, well thought out plot line. It has James Franco and John Lithgow and Tom Felton and several other people who are really, 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 really good. And Andy Serkis, who plays the ape.
Well, the lead ape.
The lead ape. Eventually, there are lots of them. And I'm pretty sure Andy wasn't playing all of them. That would have been a little strenuous for anybody.
Yeah, there are lots and lots of nice connections to the original movie, if you've seen the original movie, so you can, go, oh, wait, that.
Yeah.
Like calling the orangutan Maurice
Yeah.
after the actor.
Oh, yeah. Because Maurice Evans played orangutan, where Kim Hunter and Roddy McDowell were chimpanzees.
Yes.
Because all the apes were being uplifted.
Yes. Oops.
Apes.
Now,
Of course,
one thing
if
I
you were
like.
an ape and you wanted to have soldiers build an army, you'd want it to be gorillas because they're like the biggest ones and the strongest ones.
Yep.
And,
What's the line? They can tear apart who at his prime?
Basically, they could arguably tear apart Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime when he was doing Conan and the Terminator the first time
yes.
without breaking a sweat.
Oh, yeah. Apes are
Be
way,
afraid.
So
way
the whole concept in the original conquest of enslaving gorillas, what idiot came up with that idea?
Seriously.
Yeah, stupid because, well, gorillas, chimpanzees, orangutans are all very, very much stronger than we are. So if you were going to try to make pets or slaves out of them, you don't make them smarter.
No.
You make them a little dumber because, after all, if something that weighs, I don't even know what a gorilla weighs,
Several hundred pounds.
several hundred pounds,
Well,
and
1,000, I think.
and
that much.
where my wingspan is about 6 feet, a gorilla's is maybe 10. I mean, it's huge. You really want to mess with that sucker after you've given him brains? Think.
Think, McFly.
Fly. Think.
Now, one thing, when I saw the commercials for this, it looked like, it's going to come down to just basically a war between us and the apes. And my general thought was, but that won't work. However smart they are, we still outnumber them millions to one. And we
Billions to one. Well, no, millions to one.
Yeah, and we still have the better weapons. But it turned out, there was a brief skirmish, but no, not all out war. Something else knocked us down. We kind of accidentally engineered a disease. Spoiler alert! Spoiler! But,
Spoiler alert! Spoiler
Spoiler
alert!
alert.
Sit down and shut up, or you're going to get hurt.
Well, I need to bring this up to bring up another one small caveat with this movie. Is that
Caveat.
Caveat.
Whatever.
With this movie. Basically, the idea is that this virus made the apes smarter, but killed us off. And on the
Well,
one
the
hand,
second form.
well, yes, the second form of it. And on the one hand, okay, I can see how that works in the getting the setup for Planet of the Apes working. But the problem is, why did it kill us and not them? When they're so very genetically close to us, which is why we were using them to test the virus / drugs.
In the first place.
I mean, there's like, what, a 1% difference between human DNA and chimpanzee DNA?
if that.
Something like that, yeah.
So yeah, that one's a big one they really needed to tackle.
Yeah.
sit down with, super educated
Bio people.
bio people, geneticists, etc., and say, this is what we want it to do. How do we justify it? And they may have been able to give them an answer. You know?
I mean, maybe that 1% would be enough. But, I couldn't say.
Well, and
really.
in the originals, and I'm sure you'll correct me if I'm wrong, what we learn at the end of Escape from the Planet of the Apes, and I believe I'm quoting now, it began with a plague on dogs and cats. The pets were dying, and we have to have our pets. So we made pets out of the apes. I don't know why we chose apes. I suppose budgies just weren't that cuddleable. But you know what? An adult chimp isn't that cuddleable either. A baby one is. They're very cute and sweet and adorable, but when they grow up, they get mean and cantankerous.
Yep.
And strong. Really strong. And so on and so forth. And who makes a pet out of a gorilla? I mean, seriously.
Not happening. Oh, that's what he was saying before.
Yeah. So basically, they switched that to a plague on people.
To explain what happened to all our numbers.
Yeah. Why it was possible to knock us down. Now, in the originals, again, I believe something happened and we had ourselves a nuclear war and basically wiped each other out pretty much.
More or less. Except, of course, that would raise the question, if we dropped enough nukes to wipe out our population to that number, how did the apes survive?
Because let's face
I
it,
think the
there
comment
are.
was they'd already gotten out of ground zero before the bombs started dropping.
Do you know where ground zero would be in an atomic war? Earth. There's just not that many places you can go.
Yeah. So,
And there are people there already. Well, most of the ground zeros are places like San Diego,
New York.
L.A.,
Washington.
wherever there are large military installations. San Diego's in a world of trouble because they've got the Navy out on the coast and they've got Pendleton, Miramar. Yeah, it's just all going poof. But anyway, so they changed that, but actually, I expect there's going to be a sequel. This is another one of those that made plenty of money at the box office.
Yes. And this one actually got raves
It
from
got
the
rave
reviewers.
reviews. Oh, yeah, the reviewers just loved it because it was really well thought out. I mean, we would all like to see a cure for Alzheimer's.
Oh, yes.
And we would not be above injecting apes with it to see if it worked.
Well, heck, what is it, Deep Blue Sea? They were essentially injecting sharks with a possible cure for Alzheimer's. That went badly,
Well,
too.
actually,
Oh,
they were-
yeah, like
They were
I
drawing
would
it from the sharks' brains, hence they engineered the sharks to be smarter so they'd have bigger brains so they'd be able to get more of the juice.
My bad.
Oh, great. Oh, I see. It wasn't to make them smarter. It was to get more of the juice.
Yeah.
Because if I was going to, like, inject a sea creature with an Alzheimer's cure to see if I could make them smarter and blah, 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 I'd choose dolphins. No
Yeah.
teeth.
Maybe
No,
porpoises.
no big sharp teeth to rip you to shreds.
Well,
They
they
might
got
have
teeth. They eat fish.
Yeah, but they don't have big sharp shark teeth.
Yeah. Big, sharp, nasty teeth.
Yeah, big sharp nasty double rows of nasty teeth. No, they don't. So anyway,
But,
this is an excellent movie.
yes.
Oh,
But I loved all of these as well. They're not quite as excellent,
too.
but I think it might be interesting to compare the makeup / special effects. The thing is, with this one, that's not makeup. That's computer. They put these things on Andy, especially Andy is just brilliant at this.
Yes.
And he does the acting, and then they just paint the ape face over it, and you see what he was doing with his face, with his eyes, through it. And it's magnificent. It is just magnificent.
I understand they're trying to get a new Oscar category for motion capture acting, mostly because of Andy.
Yeah, basically, Andy deserves some recognition.
Props, man, props.
Yes.
Yep.
I can totally get
Well,
behind
you know
that.
what? There are alternate awards. The science fiction awards are called the Saturns.
Yeah.
They need to give him one.
Yeah. Are you going to say?
Yes, we would be remiss not to mention that the original series actually spawned not one, but 2 TV series before
did?
that fizzled out.
Okay, I remember the one with Roddy McDowell.
Yeah, there was a 13-episode live action and a 26-episode animated show.
I don't think I ever knew about the
Oh,
animated.
yeah.
I must
It
only
rings
know
a
about it
distant
because
bell.
it was
Mentioned in there.
mentioned on the Behind the Planet of the Apes disc.
Oh, well, we're going to have to check that disc out. But anyway, yeah, I love the series. I actually have somewhere stashed a novel that I was writing that sprang from the series. I'm total geek. We rewrite it, we read it, all that stuff. The cameraman is telling us we really need to speed it up. He's about to run out of time. So y'all run right out and get this and go ahead and buy a copy because it's well worth your time. Yes. You will not be sorry. And that's all.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.